So we are going to talk about the discriminant. Discriminant. What the discriminant tells us is the number of solutions we have for a particular problem. Okay? Now, you've already seen part of this before because it's part of the quadratic formula, but just a piece of it. So the discriminant is just the b squared minus 4 times a times c. It is just that part of the quadratic formula. So what's underneath the square root? Huh? That's what we're going to use for this.
Page 38.
Page 39. Okay. So the discriminant is just what's underneath the square root, the b squared minus 4ac. And this will tell us how many solutions we have. Now when we get back from spring break, which seems like a ways away, we're going to talk about imaginary numbers. Yep. Okay. Okay. So there are different types of solutions we can get. So here's what's going to happen. When your answers equal a positive number, which is what we've been getting right now. When your answers equal a positive number, there are two real solutions. So everything we've been getting so far has been real solutions. So if you have a positive number, you're going to have two real solutions. Okay, that's the first thing that can happen. You may get, when you plug it into the discriminant, a 0. If you get a 0, there is one real solution. And then the last thing that can happen is you can get a negative number underneath that square root, which means there are two imaginary solutions. Because we know, like, the square root of 16 is 4, right? The square root of 16 is 4. If you're not solving, if I just ask you for the square root of 16. If you solve, right, and it's x squared equals 4 and you take the square root, it's positive negative 4. Absolutely. Do you know what the square root of negative 16 is?
No, it's not negative 4 because negative 4 times negative 4 equals...
You don't know what it is. You're right. At this point, you don't. You know the square root of 16 is 4. And we will learn that the square root of negative 16 is 4i. It's an imaginary number. We'll talk about it later, but know that it's coming. Imaginary. Okay, so here's what can happen. All we're doing today is plugging in A, B, and C, determining what the number is, if it's a positive number, a 0, or a negative number, and then how many solutions that you get. Okay? So let's start with n squared plus 4n equals 21. Just like with the quadratic formula, we need to make sure that our equation's in standard form so we can identify A, B, and C. So what should I start with?
Subtract 21.
Okay, so I'm going to start by subtracting 21 from both sides. So I get n squared plus 4n minus 21 equals 0. Can you identify your A, B, and C? A is 1. B?
4.
C?
Negative 21.
Okay, everyone okay with those three? And we're just plugging it into b squared minus 4ac. So b squared minus 4 times A times C. So what do I get when I simplify? 4 squared is 16. Negative 4 times 1 is negative 4. And then negative 4 times negative 21 is a positive, no,
84.
positive 84. And 16 plus 84 is 100. So my discriminant is 100. And that is a positive number, correct? Which means I have 2 real solutions. This is your answer. So without solving the quadratic formula, I know that I'm going to have 2 answers that are real at the end of it. That's all we're doing today. Huh?
Never mind.
Okay, let's try another one together. How about 5x squared plus 3 equals negative 11x? Again, this needs to be in standard form before I can do anything. So where do I start? Add 11x. So 5x squared plus 11x plus 3 equals 0. What is A?
5.
5. B?
11.
11. And C?
3.
3. Everyone okay with that? Okay. We're plugging it into b squared minus 4ac. So 11 squared minus 4 times a times c. 11 squared, 121. And then negative 4 times 5 is negative 20. And negative 20 times 3, negative 60. 121 minus 60. 61?
No. Actually.
Mm-hmm.
Oh, yeah.
Okay, so my discriminant is 61. And how many solutions am I going to have? 2 real solutions. Okay, you need to make sure you have the word real in there. I'm going to give you 2 problems that I want you to try. Yep. Nope. In your copy.
Oh.
Okay, so take a second and complete these 2 problems. Check with your group. But figure out what the discriminant is and how many solutions you have. So for number 3, what should I move? The 3. So I'm going to add 3 to both sides, giving me 4p squared minus 10p plus 10 equals 0. Right? Where a equals 4, b equals negative 10, and c equals positive 10. So b squared minus 4 times a times c. Negative 10 squared is 100. Negative 4 times 4 is negative 16. Negative 16 times 10 is a negative 160. 100 minus 160, negative 60. So if my answer is negative, how many solutions do I have? 2 imaginary solutions. So this whole thing is your answer. Whatever the discriminant is, plus how many solutions. How did you do number 4? What did you move? You what? You moved everything on the left? Why'd you choose to do that? Okay, so you can, just like with factoring, you can. However, you have to be very careful with your positives and negatives. It doesn't matter so much with the discriminant because we don't have the full equation. But it's good practice. How many people moved all of this to the right? Just in. So everyone else just added 10?
Yeah.
Okay. We're going to get the same answer. But again, if you're using the entire formula, my recommendation to you, so the whole quadratic formula and factoring, is that you make this term positive. Okay? But with that, we have negative 4n squared minus 8n minus 4 equals 0. So A equals negative 4, B equals negative 8, C equals negative 4. Right? Negative 8 squared minus 4 times A times C. Negative 8 squared is 64. Negative 4 times negative 4 is a positive 16. Positive 16 times negative 4 is a negative 64. 64 minus 64 is 0. So if I get a discriminant of 0, what do I have?
One real solution.
One real solution. Yeah.
That one, it's negative 64 and then you subtract it, would be like 64 plus 64.
What do you mean?
Because 4 and then negative times negative 4 times negative 4, is that negative 64?
Huh? One more time.
Negative 4 times
Uh-huh.
negative 4 times
It's
negative-
positive,
Oh,
right?
it's
So
positive?
negative times a negative is a positive, times that negative gives us a negative.
So then that's, yeah, and then you get negative 64, right?
Mhm.
So then, so
64 minus 64 is 0.
Oh.
Okay, so real quick, if you would have all done what Dalen did and moved everything on the left to the right, all that would have happened is A and B would have been positive.
So that's the same answer.
Right. C would have been positive as well. So everything would have changed signs. But because of this negative here, you're still going to get the same thing. So it's okay. It's just a recommendation that when you are using the quadratic formula or factoring, your squared term is positive. It's less negatives to deal with. Okay? Any other questions? All right.